do the Cincinnati Bengals genuinely believe in Joe Burrow? Because the fact of the matter is, they have two elite receivers in Jamar Chase, the best receiver in the game, Triple Crown winner. Tee Higgins can be the wide receiver one on 90% of teams in the NFL. They locked them down both long term. You may be thinking, how is this a bad thing? How are they doubting Joe Burrow? Well, we've seen elite quarterbacks have situations where they have two elite targets and they got to decide between two of them to keep only one. And every single one of these teams decided, no problem. They said, we've got our quarterback and we don't care from there. We're going to have one of these guys. We'll move the other and, find the draft or get a cheaper guy for the other one in order to be able to move funds around for the defense and the O-line and other aspects of the roster. So the Bengals are going to waste a ton of money on two elite receivers. Now you've got a Lamborghini with a motorhome. They think they're the Dodgers or something and there's no cap like in baseball. No. There's a cap and you're not the Dodgers. You're far from it. You're in Cincinnati, not LA. So you're not going to be able to defer money like them. So now you're going to have a tough time having a good defense and protection for Joe Burrow, which protection should be the priority. But instead you said wide receiver targets. So other quarterbacks, when I mean Lamar Jackson, as an example, had Mark Andrews and Hollywood Brown when Hollywood Brown was considered the wide receiver one for the Ravens and a big part of that wide receiving core. He was wide receiver one. So they had to decide between Mark Andrews and him, and they decided Mark Andrews and moved on from Hollywood Brown and went to the draft and got Zay Flowers. They said, we've got Lamar Jackson and we just got to put a similar receiver out there. He's going to have the same effectiveness, and he did. He went out there and performed just as good, if not even better. Now, another one would be, because Lamar Jackson over Joe Burrow, considering regular season stats, MVPs, and whatnot, he's got that over Joe Burrow. You might be saying, oh, Joe Burrow's made a Super Bowl, but you lost the Super Bowl. Now, a quarterback that won Super Bowls would be Patrick Mahomes. Now, they had a situation, Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce. They said, you know what, Tyreek Hill, you're off to Miami. Travis Kelce, here's the bag. And we are going to go out there and draft Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, give Hollywood Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster prove-it deals, and that's the wide receiving room. And look at that. Mahomes still has more Super Bowl championships after Tyreek Hill. You know why? Because they were confident in Patrick Mahomes' ability with or without Tyreek Hill. They said, we have two elite targets. We don't have the money enough to be able to have a decent Super Bowl winning defense, Super Bowl winning O-line. And they said, you know what, we'll get cheaper with wide receiver because we got Patrick Mahomes and we'll keep Travis Kelce. So these two guys have proven, even without their elite receiver, they're still willing to have the same results. And it seems like the Bengals didn't really think that, Joe Burrow could come out and still have the same effectiveness without Jamar Chase and without Tee Higgins, which is concerning because now that team's going to be quite awful. The leader in sacks last season is on the Bengals, and they told him, oh, go find, a trade or something because you're getting paid way too much money. That's how bad it's getting. Your best defensive player who led the league in sacks, you want to get him out in order to get those wide receivers paid. That's kind of crazy to me. And bad management, if you ask me. So, a team that you might be thinking of is the Philadelphia Eagles, though. They have two elite receivers and they got paid. But the thing is, it's $100 million difference. Annually, it's $12 million difference. But when it comes to totals, $100 million less for A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. But obviously, Jamar Chase is better than A.J. Brown and Tee Higgins is better than Devontae Smith. But the thing is, you don't need the two best receivers in the league in order to win the Super Bowl. You need a great team. What do the Eagles have? They have the best D-line, best defense. They've got a great offensive line. They've got the best running back in the league. They got great tight ends. That Eagles team is well-rounded all over the place. It's the best roster in the league, and that's why they won the Super Bowl. So, they paid A.J. Brown, they paid Devontae Smith, but they're nowhere nearly as expensive as Jamar Chase and Tee Higgins. And the rest of the roster, if you take away the wide receiving core for the Bengals and compared it to the Eagles, aside from quarterback and aside from, quarterback, the Eagles got a better roster. Flat out, they drafted well last season, and then they end up building off that and winning a Super Bowl. So, to me, this is bad management from the Bengals. Genuinely, because you either just don't believe in Joe Burrow, which I believe, even me as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, I believe that Joe Burrow, if you would have traded away Tee Higgins, you have Yosivas, You would have had him wide receiver 2. You could draft someone, have him on a rookie deal. I think Joe Burrow would have got the best out of him, and you probably could have been able to spend the money you spent on Tee Higgins on other parts of the roster and keep Henriksen. So it's just, to me, it's bad management because Joe Burrow could easily still put up, could give you 10, 11 wins if you had a better roster. But now you just gave him 2 elite targets and a bad defense, bad O-line. You've got a Lamborghini on a motorhome, like I just said. So to me, the Cincinnati Bengals really need to be in check because your roster building skills are lacking, and this is going to lead to the Bengals being last in the division because everyone else is going to have a better roster. The Browns, they draft the quarterback and he ends up being good. The Browns don't have a bad roster. To me, they're a quarterback away from being contenders. And that's the truth here. So if they go out and get Shador, and Shador pans out, or Cam Ward, whoever, and they can really jump up over the Bengals. Steelers, if they can get Aaron Rodgers or a quarterback going, they're going to be better than the Bengals again. And then the Ravens, with or without, anything changing, they're going to be the number 1 team in the division. So to me, the Bengals are falling with the times. And that's concerning for Joe Burrow as well. I could definitely see, problems start to happen between Cincinnati and Joe Burrow because they are not building him a roster for him to compete with. Instead, they're mismanaging the money and mismanaging the cap. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment down below. Do you think the Bengals did the right thing by paying both receivers, or should they have let one go and, distributed the money to the rest of the roster? But anyways, thank you guys for watching.